What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about a Strand Hunter build that lets us suspend everything in our path, being that ad management, while being able to do some pretty gnarly DPS on those bigger enemies, champions, bosses, and we are utilizing that nice exotic chess piece for this, the 6th Coyote, giving us the second dodge, allowing us to proc that aspect, Ensnaring Slam twice, suspending enemies everywhere with this build. So starting out right here for our subclass, we're going to be using our Silk Strike as always, that nice juicy DPS Strand Super. Now for our abilities, we're using Marksman Dodge with Triple Jump and our Threaded Spike, severing enemies, plus we do get a nice bit of melee energy back for each target that we hit. Now for me, I'm going to be using our Shackle Grenade so we can use that suspend to the next degree as well, plus with our aspect we get a second grenade charge, allowing us to have two of these bad boys. So like I was saying right here in Widow's Silk, we have that additional grenade charge. When we grapple, we create a grapple tangle. Not that we're going to be using that for this build. We're going to be using that shackle, like I said, for that unlimited suspend. Now, of course, we're using the Ensnaring Slam. I have such a hard time saying that, but activating our air move to consume our class ability, we dive towards the ground, suspending everybody nearby. And with this build, we're going to be able to get this back very fast, as well as our grenade, like I said, having that ad management to the S tier. So first off, for Fragments right here, we're going to be using Thread of Binding. So super final blows emit suspending burst from the targets. This will help with that ad management even a little bit more. Plus we can suspend some of those stronger targets like overload champions, use our super to wipe them out without even having to stun them. So I do like this on this build, especially when you use your heavy attack and swing that silk rope around. You're able to suspend a lot of enemies with this fragment. Now next off right here, we have Thread of Continuity. So suspend, unravel, and sever effects last longer. So this will help us with all of our suspends when we dodge in the air and use that slam to do it, as well as our grenade. Now next off, another way that we're going to get our Shackling Grenade back even faster is Thread of Generation. Dealing damage generates that grenade energy. This counts for when we throw tangles. This counts with our abilities, supers, and weapons. So we're able to get that double Shackle Grenade back very quickly, continuing that unlimited suspend. And last but certainly not least right here, defeating suspended targets grants us class ability. Very important for this build to allow us to have that double dodge up almost consistently, like I said, so we can keep using our Ensnaring Slam. Now when we move on to weapons for this build, we're not going to be using anything that can stun, unstoppable, or overload weapon wise, but we are going to be using anti-barrier pulse. Unstoppable in that suspend will be able to stun those, so our grenade, and that dodge mid-air for that air ability and slamming. So the only thing we're not going to be able to stun is overload, but like I said, going over those abilities, we can basically continuously suspend that enemy so they don't get their health back and we can defeat it. So first off, we're going to be using the Smite of Moraine with the Demolitionist and Firefly, allowing us to get our grenade back faster on those defeats with Demo, plus this thing with Anti-Barrier, one of my favorite legendary kinetic pulse rifles. Next off, for that juicy DPS, we're going to be using Merciless here with Impetus. So when we get that final blow and then reload, we get increased damage as well as non-lethal hits, lessen the charge time. So you can see in that gameplay in the beginning and after I show you everything that we use this to juice some bosses because of that super fast non-lethal hits, plus with that defeat beforehand. And last but not least, for weapons right here, we're going to go with the Ascendancy Rocket with Explosive Light and Ambitious Assassin. Just another pairing for this with the double solar weapons, as well as that Explosive Light and boss spec on this. Does some pretty gnarly damage against those bosses and endgame activities. So this is where we're taking that in to really juice those enemies. Now for our artifact mod, not really utilizing it too much inside of this build besides our anti-barrier pulse, we're going to be using this authorized mod for grenades, allowing us to have that cheaper ammo cost when we put them on our armor. And then I'm using Shatter Orb right here, so when we break those shields of the solar enemies with our weapons, or if we do run into some strand enemies with our abilities, we're going to be able to create even more orbs of power, which this perk right here is absolutely gnarly when there is a lot of that shield type that you're breaking. So first off, for our armor pieces over here, using that Solar Siphon as well as double Kinetic Siphon. Solar Siphon allows both our Ascendancy and Merciless to get those orbs of power to drop, and then our Smite of Moraine will get those nice juicy, little bit more potent orbs of power on those defeats with the Kinetic Siphon. Now we're using those orbs of power to get armor charge as well as a few other reasons. First off right here, we do have that grenade kickstarter, so when we have that armor charge via those orbs of power and we throw our grenade, we're going to get about 40% back from this build just by throwing our grenade when we have that full armor charge. We're also going to have double bolstering detonation, so when we throw our grenade and it causes damage, it's going to give us our class ability back, allowing for that positive feedback loop of being able to suspend everything with our grenade, dodge to get that back, and slam, and then also just keep throwing grenades willy-nilly like. Now moving on right here to the 6th Coyote with the longest description ever, gain a second dodge charge. Now like I said, that is important for this build, so we can use that Ensnaring Slam 2 times because of that double dodge and suspend everything in the vicinity. It's absolutely gnarly how many suspends we get with this build. Now like typical on our chest pieces, using that double charged up for the armor charges and that grenade kickstarter, giving us a bit back every single charge that we get. And then harmonic resistance, just a little thing to help us stay alive, even though we don't face much with that strand coming at us. So next up right here on our boots, we're going to have stacks on stacks. So when we pick up all of those orbs of power that we're creating, as well as our fellow guardians, we're going to be able to get an additional stack of armor charge. So instead of it only going up by 1, it'll go up by 2 stacks every time we pick up an orb of power. And then on top of that, those orbs of power, every time we pick them up, that insulation will kick in, and we're going to get class ability back, allowing us to have that Ensnaring Slam up at all times, which will give us that nice boom, suspend, and then just wipe out everything in our path. And last but certainly not least, right here, we're using that Reaper so we can create another orb of power on a weapon defeat after we dodge, as well as that double bomber so we get our grenade back, that shackle grenade like I said, when we use our class ability. Now this does work only when we dodge, but with that double dodge and this on, with all the other things that we have proccing, we're going to get our grenade back so fast, as well as our dodge. So using one to dodge and proc bomber and then using the second one to slam isn't really a big issue in my opinion. So this build is so nice for that end game and activities that have a lot of ads that you have to manage, just like we were going through with this Defiant Battleground. There is a lot going on in this room, but with this suspend ability, we're able to keep those ads at bay because they stop shooting you, so you can go dodge behind cover, heal up, or just wipe them out with your heavy, with merciless, with your super, whatever it may be. Plus on top of that, we can stun our champions with barrier and unstoppable, and then those overloads, all we got to do is continuously suspend it and chunk away at its health so it can't regen. And this build is super great and a lot of fun to use for that strand. Definitely a slept on exotic for 6th Coyote with the double dodge in a lot of different builds. Specifically, this strand and solar are 2 of the main ones, but 100% gonna be sharing this one around a lot with my friends. They love the Strand Hunter, and I do as well. Definitely one of my favorites this season. So hopefully y'all can try out this build, get to cracking down with that Strand Hunter, suspending everything around with your dodge as well as that grenade. So appreciate that support. If y'all enjoy these videos, definitely hit that subscribe and bell. Come back for more of the build videos as well as a lot of god roll reviews for these weapons that come out. So again, thank you guys so much. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.